Montgomery, Alabama, 1961. James Zwerg, a white civil rights activist and freedom rider, was beaten by a white mob simply for peacefully protesting segregation in the South.
This is African American History is American History.
After the beating, James Zwerg had to wait 2 hours for treatment, as no white ambulances would pick him up, and because of Jim Crow, no black ambulances were allowed to. He remained unconscious for 2 days and stayed in the hospital for 5 days. His post-riot photos were published in many magazines and newspapers across the country. When he finally regained consciousness, James Zwerg, still weak and racked with pain, spoke to the press.
Dr. Davis, telephone, please. Dr. Davis, telephone, please.
From his hospital room, he said,
"Segregation must be stopped. It must be broken down. Those of us on the Freedom Ride will continue. We're dedicated to this. We'll take hitting. We'll take beating. We're willing to accept death. But we're going to keep coming until we can ride from anywhere in the South to any place else in the South without anybody making any comments, just as American citizens."
Dr. Bruce, telephone, please. Dr. Bruce, telephone,
This is African American History is American History.
James Zwerg was born on November 28, 1939, in Appleton, Wisconsin. He lived there with his parents and older brother, Charles. His father was a dentist who once a month would provide free dental care to the poor. During his high school years, James Zwerg took part in student protests and was also very active in the Christian church. Eventually, he would become a minister. Young James never had a single black classmate until he attended college to study sociology. That first black classmate, Robert Carter, became a close friend, as James recalls.
I witnessed prejudice against him. We'd go to a lunch counter or cafeteria, and people would get up and leave the table. I had pledged a particular fraternity and then found out that he was not allowed in that fraternity house. I decided that his friendship was more important than that particular fraternity, so I depledged.
When the Freedom Riders pulled into a Montgomery, Alabama bus station, they were ambushed. James Zwerg was the only white man on board, which included a young John Lewis. The two were friends who met while attending Fisk University. Zwerg volunteered to be the first to exit the bus and face the mob. He recalls the exact moment as he stepped off the bus.
In that instant, I had the most incredible religious experience of my life. I felt the presence with me. A peace, calmness. It was just like I was surrounded by kindness and love. I knew in that instance that whether I lived or died, I would be okay.
Although many of the Freedom Riders were beaten badly, James Zwerg was given special treatment for being a, quote, traitor to his race. End quote. After being beaten unconscious, Freedom Rider Lucretia Collins recalled,
"His body was held up while white women clawed his face with their nails. And they held up their little children, children who couldn't have been more than a couple of years old, to spit in his face."
After it was over, James slowly returned to a state of semi-consciousness. He tried to use the handrails to the loading platform to pull himself to his feet. Instead, he was tossed over the railing, landing on his head on the ground below. Not only was he the first to be beaten that day, but the attack on him was the most ruthless. Years later, James Zwerg recalled,
There was nothing particularly heroic in what I did. If you want to talk about heroism, consider the black man who probably saved my life. This man in coveralls, just off of work, happened to walk by as my beating was going on and said, "Stop beating that kid. If you want to beat someone, beat me." And they did. He was still unconscious when I left the hospital. I don't know if he lived or died.
This is African American History is American History.
In 1961, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. presented James Zwerg with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference Freedom Award. It was after a conversation with King that Zwerg decided to enroll at Garrett Theological Seminary. It was there he met his future wife, Carrie. James Zwerg became an ordained minister, serving for 5 years in 3 rural Wisconsin communities. In 1970, the Zwergs settled in Tucson, Arizona, and had 3 children. He changed his career several times, including a stint in community relations at IBM. In 1993, Zwerg retired, and the couple built a cabin in rural New Mexico, 50 miles from the nearest grocery store. At 84, James Zwerg continues to spread awareness about the Freedom Rides, speaking about the effect they had on his life and how love is what's most important. In a recent interview, he talked about how blessed he was to have been a part of the movement.
Everywhere we've stopped, people have been so gracious and so kind. And one of the things that has certainly been rewarding to me has been to see how many people brought their children. Seeing a little 8-year-old boy come up to me and talk to me and say, "May I please have your autograph? Thank you for what you did." That was pretty special. I appreciated that.
This has been African American History is American History. The episode you've been listening to,
The James Zwerg Story,
was written and directed by Harlan Kearsley.
The voice actors for this episode were Soraya Butler as Lucretia Collins and Jeffrey Schubert as James Zwerg. I'm Harlan Kearsley, and on behalf of everyone involved with this series, thank you for listening. And if you haven't done so, please like, comment, and subscribe to the African American History is American History channel. Remember, it's free. And once you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified when new episodes are posted. So thanks again. And please stay safe. African American History is American History. Copyright H.C. Kearsley, 2024.